Podcasting from Fort Hamilton, Brooklyn, New York. This is the Brooklyn Baritone Podcast. Hey everyone, I usually say good morning, but for me right now, I'm cutting this in the afternoon, but whenever you guys choose to listen or look at this podcast, morning, afternoon, evening, nighttime, late at night, I always appreciate the looks, the listens, and I definitely would appreciate if you hit that subscribe and notification bell on my YouTube channel, Brooklyn Baritone, but do that if you want to, no pressure. I'm always talking about my walk, spiritual walk with Elohim, the things that I've learned, the things that I've grown from teenage years, 20s, and all that stuff. I am always looking to share and always looking to take in so much information. But I never really talked about my time when I had a mindset of basically being an agnostic. So yes, despite of being raised up to go to church and understand God to at least a certain degree back then, I basically had a lot of other beliefs and acceptances of many things. And it's good to have acceptance, but you have to do it in moderation because this existence is basically based off of order and love. Love to build yourself up in the proper manner and to build other people up with you as well. Make sure your neighbor, even if you don't know your neighbor, we're all brothers and sisters. We're supposed to uplift each other. At the same time, we have to have an orderly fashion. True love has order, has standards, has limitations for certain things. You're not just going to have things just run amok. And that's one of the things that I've learned in my walk. So as my time as an agnostic, I did believe in a lot of things. And I understand why so much other people will not be so quick to resign themselves to understanding a creator. The creator of the same creator that's in the Bible, Elohim and Yeshua and the Holy Spirit. Because we get messed up because of man's systems and man's ways to control things, to interpret things. And the unfortunate part is that the way that people have designed systems, religious systems, and the way that people who are supposed to be religious don't act in the same way that their doctrine that they're supposed to follow, that turns off so many people. I was one of those people. And I totally get it and I totally understand it, which is why I like to approach people. Yes, we have to have a certain amount of give, accept people and meet them where they are. Because I was never at the point where I am now. And the fact that I've been given a chance to understand scriptures and relate it to life, I've seen so many things of what's missing from people's lives where they can't make that correlation. They can't make that connect from what they really want to know and find out to where they are in life right now, where they've been or where they're going to. I've made that correlation. I'm still growing. There's so much things that I'm learning, but I get excited to share these things, not for vain reasons, because I had to definitely question myself about that. But I do wish for people to have as much of an opportunity, if not more, than I have had, because I used to study for scriptures. I had one of my best friends out there, Mrs. Jones. And she always, when we were younger, would always invite me to do Bible study with her and her group. And I always had some kind of way of eluding and being evasive. So I would usually want to study things in scripture, not because I wanted to get better, simply because of pride. Pride was the only driving force for me to learn certain things in scriptures, only to try and stump anyone who was claiming to be Christian and wanted to engage in any kind of vocal debate or conversation with me. I always would try to figure out some kind of debacle in the Bible, some kind of conflict in the Bible, something that contradicted itself, something that caused confusion. That's the only reason why. And I know a lot of people have that same approach. Mainly because you look at the rest of human history, so much things that we grew up learning one way, we find out there was so much more missing. We also find out that some things were totally false in its own right. So I get it, especially when you're supposed to be Christians out here. And a lot of people who are Christians, they're one of the most judgmental that are out here. They are one of the most meanest and cruelest people. And a lot of times, unfortunately, they fall under the moniker of the current, what's called the secular world of doing business, where a lot of churches fall under the trap of being a business where they baptize, say, 200 people for the year. That's only for numbers. Those people who are baptized, when you baptize, you're supposed to have a certain level of understanding and discernment where you are ready now to consciously, wholeheartedly make a change for the better from what you learned from the word. And then if you're supposed to be a church inviting these people in, you're supposed to be following up with these people. You're supposed to be checking up on them if you don't see them in a while. You're supposed to help them in their studies, helping them apply what they've committed themselves to in their lives more. Unfortunately, a lot of churches don't do this. Not saying churches don't do this. There are plenty of churches out there that help people in every single part of their lives. There are plenty of churches out here that help people that aren't even part of the congregation. They hold a lot of food pantries. They give a lot of hot meals. They give out a lot of clothing. A lot of churches do a lot of good for people who are not even of the faith, because that's what we are all charged to do. So going back to my walk as an agnostic, there were so much things I was more accepting of because of so much things I was fed from different ways, and I saw the fallacies of what the church is supposed to be, because people really follow churchology. That's really what it is. And then that falls with a lot of religions. And it's all about having a proper relation with the Father. And I didn't have that. I didn't have that until I actually met up with Mrs. Baritone. And she actually helped me. She was used as a definite catalyst and a turning point for me to understand certain things and to actually get into more studies to understand and accept things. And when I actually went down the road, as opposed to learning things just so I can get a one-up all the time on a Christian who probably didn't know certain things of how to correlate actual history in the book and sciences and what's considered metaphysical things or metascience. A lot of people go to church don't know how to actually connect the two. I'm not saying anyone who doesn't know all these things of how to link certain things in physics as we know in history and geology and psychology and biology. That doesn't mean that they don't have the spirit to move things. And it wasn't until years and years of me seeing what the true history of the world is and correlating that with what happened in the book, in the Bible, and correlating that now with the standard of ethics that we're supposed to have, and then correlating that now as far as understanding what sin is, not what the world told me what it was, but understanding what transgression is. Transgression is basically going against the straight only way to live for everyone to live properly. So my time as an agnostic was like, a good chunk of my life, but it wasn't until I actually started to, be humble and started to really connect the dots of understanding what man-made religion was, what true history was. Started to learn things that were omitted from history. I started to realize, wow, a lot of things that I was understanding and following, a lot of space alien things, new age things, a lot of things with Luciferian in nature that was mixed in there. And because so many people are separated from the Father, Elohim, our Creator, is our identity. The further we are from knowing our Creator, the further we are from our own identity. So there's no possible way that we're going to logically make sense of everything and correlate everything. As I learn, I have more patience. Because when I learned, I kind of had like a little misplaced fire. Because I'm wondering, if all these people are studying the Bible, why is everyone still doing this? Why are certain people still celebrating certain holidays, all these holidays, and these have nothing to do with the Father? But just as I was in a certain spot in my life, mentally and spiritually, you have to understand everyone's going to have to come to that point eventually. Can't be done by force. Remember when Yeshua came down here, he did nothing by force. Man thought that he was going to come down and be forceful and come down with like Thor's hammer and start smashing all the enemies of Israel and God and everything. No, he came down and showed us how it was done with patience. I'm going to meet you where you are, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I'm going to come meet you where you are and give you exactly what you need. The void that you've been looking to fill, I have it. You just have to humble yourself. It's not as hard as you think it is. I was talking to one of my coworkers, and he said exactly what it is. People always look to make things harder than it seems. And what I always like to say is that every problem that we have has a simple solution. It's people that make things harder than they have to be. Anyways, that's all I want to talk to you today about. You could always check out the rest of my content on my website, www.brooklynbaritone.com. You could see all of my other productions on my YouTube website, Brooklyn Baritone, my YouTube channel, as a matter of fact. I'm also on LinkedIn under Corey Ashley. I'm also on Instagram and on Facebook. You can catch the podcast that I broadcast on Google Podcast, Apple iTunes, and also Amazon Music under podcast. I'm also broadcasting on local Brooklyn cable television on Verizon, RCN, Spectrum, and Optimum. I come on 4 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, both at 12 a.m., midnight, and then 2 p.m. in the afternoon of those respective days. Anyways, I want you guys to be blessed and walk good, and you will hear from me next week. Be good. I'm out.